everyone. I'm super excited to be recording episode 8 of A Summer of Many Seasons. And I'm just super excited to just share with you guys and continue to do this video series and to continue to just, as you guys just follow me along, just to encourage you. That's my heart, is to just encourage and to just share awesome insights and revelations that the Lord taught me. And so on the last video, we left off where I was in the airport, Johannesburg airport, from, well, pretty much 24 hours. And so I had gone to sleep. And then I woke up the next day, actually around like 3 a.m., and I was just kind of feeling that feeling of like, I know that the airplane wasn't going to be leaving till like 8, but I still was like, oh my gosh, I have to make it to my flight. So I decided to get up. I decided to just have some quiet time and just devotion time with the Lord and just worship for a while and just hung out by where I was going to check in. And then all of a sudden this guy just comes up and he just like kind of walks up to me and just says like, I think I know where you're going. And I'm like, oh my gosh, awesome. Like, you're a student of the Harvest School. And so we got to talking, and I actually felt led to tell him the whole story about what God was doing and how he was calling me there even though it wasn't accepted. And he said like, oh my gosh, I almost wish I was doing that because that's just so exciting and everything like that. And he was just really encouraging me. And so we went to eat breakfast together, and it was awesome because a bunch of people just started showing up who were Harvest School students. And so that was exciting and also making me feel a little bit interesting just because of the way that it was like, like I'm not accepted, but although God has called me here, so here I am. And so it was just exciting. I was just so excited for what God was going to do. And then we were off, we ate breakfast and we loaded and got on the plane, and it was awesome. So I met a lot of people and was just hanging out. And then I ended up telling a few of the students a little bit of what God was doing and what he was calling me to do. And so then actually every single person I told, they were like, that is incredible. The faith that God has given you is so encouraging, and that's exciting. And I can't even think how they just wouldn't let you in, because that's just so exciting. And so I was just really encouraged. And when I was on the plane, it was awesome because me and this guy had like kind of caught each other's eye in the airport or something, and I felt like I knew him, but I couldn't like put my hand on it. So I was waiting in line to use the restroom in the airplane, and he came up behind me, and I was like, what's your name? And he just told me, my name is Colton. And I was like, oh, hey, I was just like, okay. And I didn't really know him. And then I said, my name is Im. And he says, oh my gosh, you're Jesse's friend. And he was so excited to meet me. And he said he had done his DTS with Jesse, and he was just so stoked. And so he was like, I've heard so much about you, and we just clicked, and we just started talking, and he actually asked if he could pray for me, and I told him the whole story of what I was doing and how crazy and radical it was, and he was just blown away, and he prayed for me, and he just told me, he said, I feel like God is saying that he's just so overjoyed, like he's just smiling down at you because of your obedience, because of the faith that you're walking in, and that was just so exciting and encouraging for me. And we just sat together and just got to know each other better. And he really just shared some stuff about himself, and it was awesome. And actually, while we were talking, he wasn't like praying or anything, but it was so from God. And I didn't know exactly that was from the Lord at this moment, but later on, it totally hit me. And he had said to me, he said, if you don't end up getting to do the school or whatever happens, I feel like you ought to be so excited because God has radical plans for you. And I knew that already because I had pretty much let go of what I was going to, of doing the school and stuff. But I just really received that, and it was awesome. And I didn't know how big that was going to be helping me later on. And so that was really neat. So we arrive in Pemba. And here I am like, oh my gosh, we wait for so long to get our bags because they just like, it's this tiny little airport, and they're just like loading the bags on. And so I'm telling Colton, I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like the Harvest School people are waiting to pick all you guys up. And like, here I am, like I can't get a ride with you. So I have to go to the ATM and get a taxi. And so I'm just like, tell Jesse that I'm here and I got a taxi. And so I just decide to walk out, and I go into the ladies' room, and I'm just like praying in the spirit and just praying like, okay, God, what do you want me to do next? And so I get out my iTouch and I start looking for language stuff, because here I am, like this white girl in Mozambique, Africa, don't even know the language, like don't even know where I'm going, but I have to take a taxi. And so it was pretty exciting and also a little nerve-wracking. And so it was just fun. And so I just actually went into the bathroom, and it just so happened, God is so good. And this lady came in, and I said, do you speak English? And she says, a little bit, you know. And so I asked her, where's the ATM in the airport? And she says, we don't have one, but down the street you can get one. You can take a taxi. I said, okay. So I go out, and right away this guy says, taxi, taxi, you need taxi. I'm like, yes, I do. He starts grabbing my bags and taking me to his car, and here his car is not even a taxi cab. Like, it's not a car that looks like a taxi. And so I'm just like, okay, Lord, like, protect me. I'm just praying in the spirit, and it's just so funny because I'm like, okay, here we go. And he said, don't you worry, I have my taxi thing inside. And he showed me when we got inside, so that made me feel a little better. And then as we were driving, he spoke a little more English, and he took me to the ATM, and I said, do you know Mama Ida, you know, Iris base? And he says, oh yes, it's 20 minutes or so. And I said, okay. And then I paid him, and he pretty much, well, I didn't pay him yet, but he ripped me off. But still, that was okay. You got to do what you got to do. And at this point, I was kind of like, oh, well, you know, I told him that, no, it shouldn't cost that much, because people had told me how much it should cost. But still, you know, what can you do? And so we were driving, and he was just starting to say like, oh, you're different than most girls, and I like you, and I want to marry you, and all this stuff. And I was just ministering Jesus to him. I said, well, you ought to love Jesus more than you want girls. And it was just so funny, because with the language barrier, still God got the message through. And it was just awesome. I was able to minister to him. And then I didn't even know if he was taking me to the base. You know, it's like you just don't even know these days. He could have been taking me somewhere totally different. But I just was trusting God, and I knew that God was protecting me, and I was just praying in the spirit and just totally walking in faith. And then I arrived at Iris Ministry Base. And I'm going to just cut this video off there, and you'll have to watch the next video to hear what happened next. Because here I was actually in Mozambique. I had got there. I was about to see what happened and what God had planned. And it's so exciting, and it's so intense what happened. So please stay tuned, and please just follow along on the next video. I pray you are blessed. I pray that the faith and the obedience that God gave me and used through this journey, I pray that he would just give that to you and I just impart that to you. And I pray that you would just walk in obedience and walk in faith in whatever God is telling you to do and calling you to do, because he has plans, and though they are beyond what we could understand, he has bigger plans and more exciting things, and he knows best. So just go ahead and just keep trusting him, guys, and just fall in love with him. Continue to seek his face as we just press in for deeper intimacy with him. So bless you guys. Stay tuned. Comment, share the videos. Let me know what you think and what God's speaking to you. And stay tuned for the next one. God bless you.